Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning. Welcome live from Gulfstream Park. Yes, you have it right. It's Handicappers Report, loose on the lead edition. Seth Merrow, Steve Byk. We were already going to be early this year because we do have a post Belmont Stakes loose on the lead scheduled already. So we're going to be a little early, but now we're even earlier with a Fountain of Youth edition. Steve, good morning.
Seth, good morning. Great to be down here again with you. It's kind of a work release program that they allow. The network lets you out of Albany for, 4-day furlough.
It's funny walking around the place, the number of Capital District, Saratoga area snowbirds that run. Hey, OTB. So it's always fun to come down here. And a great weekend as well. Do want to remind people coming up on Sunday, there's a mandatory pay. Great day of racing today, but tomorrow, mandatory pay in the Rainbow here at Gulfstream. Also want to remind people that Big Cap Day has been postponed to tomorrow out on the West Coast. So the Big Cap, San Felipe with Nisos, with weather today out in Southern California, they moved the card to tomorrow. So keep that in mind. And you pulled out your PPs earlier for the Preakness Future bet. People should remember that as well. But also remember, as compared to the Derby bet, closes today at 6. And of course, the Baffert horses are included in here. Nisos will end up being a very short price favorite. But it's still interesting. It's still worth a look. And of course, yesterday, Shug down here bringing back Conquest Warrior and 40-1 in the Preakness future wager. I doubt that stays at that number. He looked very good, I thought. I think he got the same figure again. I think an 84 buyer coming back with that allowance win. And now he'll point for the Curlin, Florida Derby at the end of the month. Yeah, that was a really nice performance and a good look. And I know people were kind of high on him, some folks prior. So he becomes an interesting entrant to the conversation. 14 races, and we have about 45 minutes. You ready to jump in?
Always.
All right.
At your service.
So let's do it. And again, we'll kind of, with the 14 races and the abbreviated version, we'll kind of zip through some of the early races and then concentrate a little more on some of the stakes action. Really good stakes action today. I think the turf races are you can kind of point in 6 different directions in those turf stakes. But let's start things out on the turf. But the opener, it's maiden specials. They're going to go 9 furlongs here in the opener. What did you see in race number 1?
Well, in my notes, I called it murky. It's kind of a difficult start actually to the day with this field. And usually when I look at a maiden race, horses that have started 4 times or more, you kind of discount them. But I ended up siding with Cassie and Gary Barber with a homebred of his, Tour the City, showed some speed last time. And then Pletcher from the rail, the second-time starter who's bred up and down for turf, debuted at the end of the year on the Tapeta course here, and it kind of just ran around. I think he's better now coming back 60 days later and should save all the ground. IRAD aboard, and I thought that El Razine was well worth using. I went 8-1-5-3 in the opener.
I also have the 8 on top. I thought Tour of the City was interesting off the latest effort. Maybe just seemed to indicate that figuring it out after the first 4 starts of the career. So I have him on top. And another Pletcher, Linesman, second-time starter. They paid a lot of money for that horse. I thought it was okay in debut. So the number 7 in the second spot for me in the opener, 8, 7, 2, and 5. All right, you want to intro the?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We're going to do it that
we'll
way.
Go back and forth. Yeah.
All right. That's I'm out of practice. I don't. And I'm not. I even at Saratoga, I don't do.
It's an occasional. You're right.
Yeah. I pinch hit once in a while. The second is a maiden special, 7/8, and these are the 3-year-old boys. And this typically is a productive race in the same way that the Speakeasy Victory Avenue 7-furlong race was important going back to Pegasus Day. This group is really got potential up and down, and you've got horses that exited the Speakeasy Victory Avenue race. That includes Big City from the Rail for Jose D'Angelo, as well as Tapakina. But Acclaimed Victors is where I ended up siding a little bit on a price, 4-1, third choice. This is kind of a workout buzz play to some degree. I think on the chicklets on the screen, I think it might have the 8, who's okay, Jefferson Street, but it's Acclaimed Victor that I want to lean on. Made up ground late in his debut. There's also BU to consider. A horse that comes out of the Conquest Warrior race, as we just talked about, the Maiden Breaker.
An Antiquarian.
Antiquarian.
Looked good down at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, who turned around and broke the Maiden on Risen Star Day, and has run into nice horses really all the way along the line. So for me, 6, 2, 1, and 3. I don't know if this is an indicator, but Brian Lynch is in Vegas this weekend as opposed to here. So I not to say that Lynch's horses have less of a chance, but he's not here. So take it for what you want.
I'm with the 6. I know that as the card goes along, we have some divergence, but I also put the 6 on top. 1-2 favorite last time. I thought it was an okay debut over at Tampa. Tapakina in the second spot for Brian Lynch off again a good looking number in that Speakeasy race where Speakeasy had the triple digit. Big City intriguing to me. Third in that race. The first two are coming back in the big race later on. Showboat is a firster by Kozan. I'm not going to leave that one out at a price. I love the Kozan firsters, and I have to admit I am not a big Bang Theory, but I had to look up the Al Gold horse Howard Wolowitz, who Big Bang character. I always love the Al Gold names.
Al names them with tongue in cheek.
The third race kicks off the stakes action today. It is that subdivision I like quite a bit. 3-year-olds on the turf in the Colonel Liam.
15-1 Okiro. You're going to get Tyler Gaffleone jumping aboard for Jose Garofalo, and that's a go move for Garofalo. And Okiro, who was put up in his last race, the horse that had been basically second his last 3 starts, being put up, doesn't. It's not the same as a win, but I don't know. It gives you a tad more confidence. The thing that is much more clear is his speed, and he zipped 34 flat for a bullet. This is again a bit of a workout push, but Okiro at that price at 15-1, I don't see how. I just found him irresistible. Abramar, Safi Joseph with Paco, and then Cugino and Triple Espresso. I will mention Dave Grenning couldn't join us yesterday, and he was up at Palm Meadows. And I asked Dave, since he couldn't, visit and give us any handicapping info, I said, who do you like tomorrow? Anybody? And of all the races, he said in that Colonel Liam, Royal Majesty, the Bill Mott. And Dave, when Dave zeroes in like that, there's some authority to it. So I didn't gravitate in that direction, but I may end up using him defensively in the multis because Dave's good that way.
When I talked to him, he said the best bred horse on the program, Royal Majesty. And Akiro, I didn't use, but I was sitting in when you had Mike Welch on the program yesterday, and he mentioned those workouts. And you look at you mentioned the 34. He has 233 workouts underneath it. So I may look at him if the price is right. But I went 8, 9, 7, and 6. I put the West Point Shug horse on top. Cugino. I thought the first 2 starts of the career were promising and could be in that nice subdivision as a 3-year-old to watch on the turf going forward. Maybe National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame up at Saratoga, something like that. Triple Espresso for Todd Pletcher off the win in the 3-year-old debut. I thought showed a little promise, and then I did put Royal Majesty in the mix as well. So in the third for me, 8, 9, 7, and 6.
The fourth. There we go. There's the fourth. The fourth is a handicap on the Tapeta. And this is a bit of a pace play because the 10 on the outside, exact estimate, controlling speed in here. And Rad Ortiz in this setting, very dangerous. Now, to be fair, he got beat a nose in the same kind of race going back to Pegasus weekend. And, was second in the Artie Schiller, if you go back to the mile try at Aqueduct. But, this is a horse that can, back it up into everybody's face under IRAD. And if somebody wants to get aggressive, he's one stalking. So exact estimate, Chad Brown, Jeff Drown, and company. I used at 10-1. I wanted to get lure him in the play here, and has had success on synthetic. If you go back to the time that Bob Hess had him. And the thing that jumped out for me, Seth, with lure him in was his head decision over Octane in that Sunshine Millions Classic. All Octane did was turn around and win the Razorback last week at Oaklawn. So at 10-1, I think you want to get the 4 on your tickets. The Herman Walensky trainee. I ended up 10-4, 6-2 in the fourth.
I got the same, but mixed up a little bit. 6, 10, 2, and 4. I put Rock Emperor on top. I may just outclass this bunch. Moves over to the synthetic. There's no synthetic showing up on the page, but has a couple of synthetic tries underneath that are okay. So I don't think the move is going to be significant. Yeah, and as I say, stepping out of Stakes Company just might outclass these. I put exact estimate right underneath. The post position, 2 turns on the synthetic concerned me a little bit, or I might have flipped those. Skyro in the mix for me for Brian Lynch, and then, at the bottom of my mix, I also did use lure him in as well. So in the fourth, I have it 6, 10, 2, and 4. Fifth race this afternoon, it's an optional claimer with the C condition back on the turf at 7.5 furlongs. What you see in the fifth? Well,
I'm going to do something I've been talking about on radio of late. And if you go through this field, there's one thing that might catch your eye if your eye is trained for this kind of a notation. There's only one horse in this field that's in for the tag. It's J.P. Hellish for Martin Drexler, who is having a absolute monster of a meet down here. 12 wins, 23% clip. In fact, I think he won. Was it yesterday or Thursday? J.P. Hellish. You get Javier Castellano, who's doing fine down here this winter, and he's in for the 62.5. He's cleared this condition and then some. So J.P. Hellish for me at 8-1, and then English B, a bit of a pet for me, a little bit, kind of a favorite, and he comes back off the layoff. Last seen in the Turf Mile at Keeneland. You talk about the class of Chad's horse, for instance, Rock Emperor. This horse has got plenty of class, back class in there. You've also got a layoff horse on the outside from Todd and Mike Rapoli. Never Surprised. I'd forgotten about this horse. He's been away since December of 22. So Never Surprised shows back up, and if he's ready, he's worth including. I went 2, 5, 9, 4.
I'm 2, 5, 8, 9. I have J.P. Hellish on top as well. You mentioned Marty Drexler, and it was probably a month or so ago. I looked up his stats because he had a great championship meet last year. But I will note, I looked it up month by month last year. He got really hot in March. So if that plays out again this year, maybe that'll kick off that side of things. So JP Hellish on top. English B, I thought was a little bit interesting. Hasn't been seen since Keeneland last October for Graham. But again, I thought might class up nicely with this particular group. And then Tism Romantic with some early speed for Safi and Zayas could be the one that says catch me if you can, and might prove tough there. So in the fifth for me, 2, 5, 8, and 9.
Sixth race is back on the dirt and a second level allowance going 7/8. Kings Barnes, who of course you'll remember from last year's Derby Trail and the Louisiana Derby winner, comes back for his 4-year-old debut in this spot and has worked spectacularly. Kings Barnes for me, and I'm going to lean in these middle portion multis. I'm going to lean on Kings Barnes pretty heavily. He's not just the horse to beat; he's way the horse to beat, and that's how I'm going to approach this. I did use Baby Yoda, the enigmatic Baby Yoda.
I was about to use exactly the same word. He of the 114 buyer.
Well, the Baby Yoda story, that day at Saratoga, we're still trying to figure it out. However, he's he's sneaky and capable, and I'm for small money on the middle multi, I'm going to do a backup ticket with Baby Yoda in here. Dale Romans has got Howling Time. Dale's barn a little cold, and then I thought Terry Pompey was a little mildly usable with Kozeris as well. 5, 8, 7, 6.
I'm taking a swing in here because I like Kings Barn. You're right. He's the one to beat, but has been off since June. Is this the day? Is this what they're pointing for? He just might outclass them. I left Howling Time out. He scares me. Baby Yoda, again, enigmatic. He scares me. Left both of them out. I'm going 2, 5, 9, and 4.
Look at you.
I thought Lightning Tones at a big price.
Danny Hertak.
If you get past Kings Barnes, I think this horse fits with the rest of the field on a decent effort, and it's been in the money the past half dozen starts or so, past 4 starts, and so in good form. I think this horse could be very playable and eligible for a little bit of an upset. Again, if it isn't Kings Barnes' day today, he's the one to beat. Have him underneath, and then positive review on the outside for Safi. I think same could be a player in with this bunch this afternoon. So in the 6, 2, 5, 9, and 4.
Safi's other horse, Implementation, and one of the quirks of this 6th race is that virtually everybody in the field has got at least one performance in fairly let's say over the last 6 to 9 months that could win this race. Implementation has that race from Saratoga last summer. So it's a very quirky bunch. But if Kings Barnes comes back running, I think he's
I agree. He's clearly the one to beat.
All right.
We'll do one more before the break. The Mac Dharma Grade 2 event, mile and 3/8 on the grass. Your thoughts in the 7th, which kicks off a mid-card pick 4, and we should have mentioned, what are there, 3 pick 5s today?
3 pick 5s and 4 pick 4s. The pick 4s start in the 2nd, the 4th, the 7th, and the 11th. Those are the 4 pick 4s. The pick 5s, of course, in the first race. Then there's a middle pick 5 that starts in the 5th through 9th. And then, of course, the last 5, the all stakes pick 5, starts in the 10th. So those are your big multis. And for those of you that play the rainbow, starts in the 9th. What did we do here? Kings Max, George Delgado on the outside. Kings Max for me, 9-2, and main event down inside, right? Taya, 10-1-2-3. And I'm scared about Tawny Port, who seems to be a popular lean today from a lot of places. Kings Max comes out of that Pegasus turf and lost some ground in there under David Egan, but Egan maintains the mount, and he certainly, rode him fine in the Fort Lauderdale. So, a good effort from Kings Max. I thought the price was square. Then you've got Main Event, who is probably the one to catch on the front end and could control it. Headline News at 12-1 absolutely can boost your exotics. You get Jose jumping aboard, and an Anglophile, Brian Lynch again. Lynch, as we said, he's got a bunch of runners, but he went to Vegas.
Yeah. Vegas had the siren call of Las Vegas. 110, 3 and 7 for me. Pace play on Main Event. I just think you may get out there in a mile and 3/8. Say it a lot. It's counterintuitive, but the longer they go, I think the more potent speed is. Yeah, because they can lope along. So I'll look for him to take them all the way around. Kings Max on the outside. I think probably the race 2 back is what we're looking for. Ran okay, and the number was similar in the Pegasus turf, but I think playable off of those two. And then Headline News, as you mentioned, for Jimmy Toner, lightly raced, and could be a little bit intriguing in here. Jose Ortiz on board, a little bit of a price. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will continue our look at this Fountain of Youth Day card at Gulfstream Park. Seth Merrow, Steve Byk, stay tuned.
And they're off in the Pegasus World. They're off in the Fountain of Youth Stakes. And they're off in the Curlin Florida Derby. Forte wins. White Aborio almost home.
And Nyquist is still unbeaten. Orb and John Velasquez have won the Florida Derby.
Barbaro wins.
And there you have it. Northern Dancer will be the winner of the Florida Derby.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
We're back at Gulfstream Park. It's the Handicappers Report / Loose on the Lead coming to you from South Florida. And let me slip in the greetings back to New York to Tina. I always forget. And I'm married. So I do want to let her know that I'm remembering that on a day-by-day basis. And I think
I'll say it too. She's my guardian angel, according to you on the radio yesterday. You said when you leave the house, she's always telling you.
Don't be mean to Seth. That is the watchword. And now there's people on the internet writing me. I got Facebook and Twitter. Don't be mean to Seth.
Well, I came in this morning. I sit down. You reach over, look at the time, and say, "Where did I buy this?"
It is one of mine.
Yeah.
I sent that one into early retirement. That one, you've worn it more than I ever did. But it looks good. You look sharp.
I think so. Yeah. Thank you. Well, you always look sharp, so I don't really have to say that. You're as the late Vic Zest, but the Beau Brummel of the racetrack.
Well, thank you. I'm happy that they put in the air conditioning unit because yesterday you came to see me on the radio and you were like,
As you pointed out, I picked the wrong coat for the event. But
I don't know about that. I
think it looks on TV. It's great. It's just it's a little heavy for Florida.
That's because it's a wool jacket. It's March in South Florida, and he's wearing a wool jacket.
I packed thinking in March mentality and whatever.
In Manitoba?
No, in New York.
The 8th race, here's the bride. And so it was the bride portion of the race that made me want to say hi to Tina. And I think our grandkids are watching in Rochester.
Oh, excellent.
So, and if they are still watching, Cal and Lennon, Pop says hi.
Nice.
Here Comes the Bride is the first of the mile turf events. And these are the 3-year-old fillies. there's a horse in here that I think would have been a universal good thing. 20-1 is a high number on Pounce, the 11 for Cassie and Resolute Racing. But the wide draw has complicated matters, obviously.
Mile on the turf.
Very, very tricky. I'm going to use, but and I would have picked with any kind of a decent draw. Instead, I ended up with Crown Imperial at 15-1, and Johnny Ortiz, Julian Leparoux, and this is a horse that is proven tractable, can attend the pace or can come back and come with a run. So Crown Imperial, coming off the layoff, making the 3-year-old debut in this spot, and has worked really well up at Palm Meadows for Ortiz. John gets on him himself, and I thought Crown Imperial, this is a great spot at 15-1. Life's an Audible is very obvious, would be no surprise. But 2-7, I also use the 9 Time to Dazzle. That's the other Cassie, another horse that has won and hit the board with different running styles. And I love that. I mean, it gives you many, many options. And Joe Bravo, who's came back to South Florida, riding okay. So for me in the 8th, 2-7, 9-11.
It's Ozara and Life's an Audible, the two that will take action. And I looked around, and eventually I just landed on Ozara. I just thought that race in the Ginger Brew was very good. The Swedish Chant win from Life's an Audible, also very good. But I do think Crown Imperial at a morning line price that looks attractive is one of those that could come back, a little time off, fairly lightly raced last year as a 2-year-old, could come back as an improved 3-year-old. So I do think if you do get that morning line to hold up, Crown Imperial is interesting in here. 3-7, 2 and 11. 9th race this afternoon, the Devona Dale. Again, the boys face off, the 3-year-old boys face off later in the Fountain of Youth. And as is typical on these kind of programs, you also have the 3-year-old fillies. They're going to square off in the Devona Dale, couple $100,000 up for grabs. Grade 2 event, the 1-turn mile. And it's going to be a lot of action between Leslie's Rose and Just FYI. What did you see in the Devona Dale?
Well, I picked Leslie's Rose, who it really is the most likely winner and has got the recency edge, obviously, against the 2-year-old champion, Just FYI. A good effort by Just FYI probably is all Mott and George Krikorian is looking for. We should mention George Krikorian lost his really nice Cal stallion, Mr. Big, this week. Mr. Big, homebred of his, the Dynaformer son, who really had an excellent career as a stallion. And so a good effort from Just FYI might be heartening for George. But I think she's giving away the recency, and not just to Leslie's Rose. Fiona's Magic, to me, if you have not latched on, when it comes to Mike Dinney over in Tampa, that's his Huckleberry. For me, it's Bo Yates. Michael Yates goes by Bo. Yates is masterful and does not get nearly the credit that he should. And this rest of the card, you're going to hear his name a couple of times. Fiona's Magic is live as can be in here, the St. Patrick's Day filly. So I want her at a price. She's going to be overlooked. And Ian Wilkes has famously popped with horses like Into Champagne down here over the years at South Florida. And she came back in the Glitter Woman and was a going away winner in her seasonal debut at the beginning of January. From a numbers perspective, from a fig for fig players, she's a little light, but don't let that deceive you. Into Champagne absolutely can win this. This is much more complex, this race, than just Leslie's Rose and Just FYI. If you want to go narrow, to me, Leslie's Rose would be a valuable lean for small budgets, but I would be cautious. I think this thing is more intriguing than it looks.
I'm pretty much in the same camp, and I went with Leslie's Rose, who is a close-up second choice on the morning line. But as you on the radio, I'm sure as well, I have a feeling she's going to go favorite today from the way people are talking. But she has the recency edge.
Well, she's faster too. I mean,
the numbers.
Just FYI, is going to have to get faster to beat her.
And you would think that's possible at 2 to 3.
Doesn't look like she's wound. Doesn't look like she's, the hatches are battened down.
and which is completely understandable. So it's going to be interesting, those two. But again, I also used Into Champagne down in the 3rd spot. But Fiona's Magic, again, sitting in yesterday, Mike Welch. I know you like Frankie's or the Michael Yates horse a little later.
Frankie's Empire.
Who Welch said Fiona's Magic was working with that one and looked very good.
Just a little bit better.
And so I thought Fiona's Magic off of that might be a little bit interesting as well. So for me, in the Devonadale, 2, 3, 8, and 4.
The 10th is the very one. And if Marty McGee was not retired, he would be here to remind everybody when they say the very one. No, the very one, that's the name of the horse. The very one. So it's the very one. And this is a fun race. I ended up with who? Sister Luann? Yeah, Sister Luann. And Miss Yearwood, here's Ian Wilkes again, coming out of the Via Borghese. But our Callie Kim has got to be respected. I mean, she was winning on a 5-race win scheme when Alpha Bella beat her in the Le Preveillant. I'm using her, and I'm using Anatolian. So 5, 8, 10, 7. And I think you got to use as many of those as possible. And I never even got to Cairo Consort.
Cairo Consort I took a close look at, but I left that one out as well. I went 6, 5, 10, and 8. You mentioned Anatolian. And I said at the top of the show, the turf races today, I think you can point at 4 or 5 or 6 and have similar confidence. I thought Anatolian at a 6-1 morning line. Luis Hayes hops on board for Mike Maker. Just seems to be in good form, couple of nice wins, and a 3rd place finish coming into this race. I think just matches up. I think in a competitive race is a good matchup. Sister Luann is logical, a little bit of early positional speed, wound up 7th after having been up close to the pace in the Pegasus Philly and Mayer turf. But the race just before that I thought was good enough to mix it up in here. And our Callie Kim gets stuck on the outside, but at a 1 3/8, you should have
big a deal.
Plenty of time to work things out. So for me, I have it 6, 5, 10, and 8. Gulfstream Park Mile, race number 11 this afternoon. And we should mention race 1 today is going to have an 11:15 post time. So an early post time today here at Gulfstream Park. Race number 11, the Gulfstream Park Mile Grade 2 event. And as the name suggests, 1 mile is the trip. What you see in the mile?
Well, first of all, scratch Castle Chaos, who, of course, is running in New York. Robert Falcone sent the Palace Malice gelding up there. And this essentially is a Fred Hooper rematch between Tumbarumba and Steel Sunshine. And Steel Sunshine of Bobby DeBonis did all the running and absolutely, or came running late and had all kinds of trouble. May still end up in a situation where he can't catch Tumbarumba, who's going to be, near or on the lead. But I think you're using both of them. Shaq Diesel's the price from David Fawkes with a 2-race win streak. Went over to Tampa and won one of those state-bred restricted stakes, and then an open allowance win at Gulfstream at the Trip. So I ended up with 3, 5, 6, 2 in here. Witt comes back to the dirt, and
you mentioned yesterday on the radio, just his career the schedule has been funny enough. He hasn't taken a Gulfstream Park shot yet,
which is strange given given Pletcher's strong performance down here. By the time he got here as a 3-year-old, last year it was too late for him as a 3-year-old to run down here. He wasn't ready, and then obviously as a 2-year-old, he wasn't running here. So here's his first chance. Who knows? I'm going to use him very defensively.
I am putting Steel Sunshine on top. Tumbarumba scares me. To me, it's kind of between those two. But Wit is interesting. And then when you mentioned it, I was looking at the Gulfstream. I thought that's kind of intriguing as well. Nice little workout coming into this over a Palm Beach down. So I think Wit is interesting, as is Shaq Diesel at maybe a little bit of a price.
Should be a price. He'll be at least
coming in good
8,
form.
10 to 1.
Nice little win and a little stake over at Tampa 2-back, and then followed that up with a win here at Gulfstream, where he's run well in the past also. So in the mile, I have a 3, 5, 2, and 6.
Turn to the 12th, the Canadian Turf, the grade 3 mile and a 16th for the boys. And Emmanuel's your defending winner. And, you're obviously, respectful. However, Smokin' Tea, I've been a fan of. This is Shug. The horse, however, that I really would like to utilize here is Ice Chocolat, who we kind of been waiting for a little bit in a stake spot. This is a horse that was emerging for Cassie last year, has won only once, and it did come here going a mile, but in stakes company, he's capable, Ice Chocolat, and at 8 to 1, I think you'll get that. There's no shortage of price options in here, including horses like Siege of Boston and Turf King. You got some options if you want to either feather in with the obvious players, Emmanuel and Smokin' Tea. But for me, 2, 3, 10, and 4.
I debated. I wanted to go against Emmanuel off the layoff. Hasn't been seen since finishing 5th behind Casa Creed in the 4-star Dave up at Saratoga. So the layoff. But he came back from a fairly similar layoff last year and won a little stake over at Tampa in the first start back. Defending champ in this race. So I landed there, but with some trepidation. Ice Chocolate in the second spot for me off of that nice win last time. And Turf King for Chad Brown. I mentioned it earlier. You get a lightly raced 2-year-old, get some time off the 3-year-old season. Well, I think it also works for a lightly raced 4-year-old who has had maybe a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old season, but again, hasn't had too much experience yet. Then you get some time off. I think sometimes those can come back improved as well. So the son of Kingman, I think, has some opportunity to maybe step forward and be intriguing. And here also Turf King, the number 4, 3, 10, 4, and 2 for me.
I talk about that a lot when it comes to Thorograph. When you look at Thorograph stats, and I'll tell the Capital OTB audience, actually you hear it if you listen to the show on the replay on the network. But if you go to Thorograph.com, you can click on the little box, sign up for 2 free Thorograph races on Thursdays. I have Jeff Franklin join me. And one thing that you do see along that topic, the Thorograph index for sires. And it's one of my favorite angles, especially when you see a horse at this time of year. Let's say a horse's last start was in September, October. So now, November, December, January, February, it's 4 months. Next couple of months at Keeneland, you're going to see horses that'll come back at Keeneland. And people are going to look at figures and they'll say, oh, this horse is too slow. No. Take a look at the sires, at how fast on average the sires progeny run from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, which are all development arc periods for young horses that are growing. And you have a horse, let's say a horse is running 8s on Thorograph. Well, now it's 6 months later, the sire's progeny improved 3 points, let's say from 3 to 4. Well, suddenly that horse, if it comes back and runs on the same arc, might run a 5, let's say, on Thorograph. On the buyer scale, we might be talking mid-80s to low 90s. And people look at these horses and say, oh, this horse is too slow. Not too slow if he's ready to run that day. It's one of my favorite things.
I've been saying that for years. You get a lightly raced 2-year-old or a lightly raced 3-year-old, and then
they're not even lightly raced. I mean, and just horses that have had time off essentially, and 5 months, 6 months or more, they come back as different horses, especially 2 to 3, 3 to 4.
All right, and we should some Sunday we should have one Sunday bring in Thorograph and talk up at Saratoga about that. That would probably be.
I asked Jerry Brown every year. Jerry's. It's impossible. He's media shy. Put a few drinks in him. He'd be a little less media shy. If we could do that with him at 9 o'clock in the morning, we'd be all right.
It'd be tough at our time slot, but
not necessarily.
13th race this afternoon, the Honey Fox Grade 3 event, a mile on the turf. Your thoughts?
There's pace in here, and I gravitated to Be My Sunshine with Junior Alvarado in an absolute catbird seat trip. Should Be My Sunshine should sit right behind the speeds and get first run on the closers in this spot. 9-2, very square price. Obviously, Chad with Chili Flag, who's 9-5. Walkathon. Here's Ian Wilkes one more time, and then for the flag at 8-1. I thought was the other horse. So 3, 6, 7, 5.
I'm 7, 6, 5, and 4. I'm going to put For the Flag on top for Jimmy Toner. Off since Kentucky Downs early in September, but overall has run very well in the career. I think he's interesting in here today on the return. Chili Flag, playable, nice win, 2 back for Chad Brown. Seasonal debut in Pegasus Philly Mare Turf I thought was good enough. And Walkathon on the front end last time. We'll see if it tries. Expansive, I think. Again, one of those lately raced horses overall, but and probably has to step forward a little bit, but I don't think that's out of the question. In the 13th, the Honey Fox, 7, 6, 5, and 4.
Gets us to the feature, the Fountain of Youth, mile and a 16th, first finish line. And this is a fascinating addition. You've got yet another Saturday Derby season prep with a horse that's making the seasonal debut and has got a serious resume. There's actually 2 of them, because there's Locked and then there's Dornoch. And then you've got the lightly raced first out performers of Speakeasy and Victory Avenue. And then you've got horses that I sort of was referring to earlier, horses like Frankie's Empire and Real Macho, who come in maybe a cut beneath, but who are absolutely within hailing distance of the star performers and the bigger names from a connection standpoint. So you've got some referendum type decisions. I didn't necessarily expect to lean on Locked as heavily as I'm going to, but every indication is that he's ready to come back running. Now, we said the same thing about Fierceness, and he flopped. That's an unusual occurrence, frankly, out of the Pletcher camp. Locked does appear locked and loaded for this, and so I'm gonna lean on him. I'm gonna do some backup type tickets, and I'm also excited about in terms of the multis. As I've mentioned, I'm kind of looking forward to including prices. Most notably, as we mentioned, Bo Yates with Frankie's Empire, who's 20-1. You've also got Real Macho from Rowan Crichton, who is absolutely good right now. That was a legitimate performance in that allowance win over Born Noble, which was a Pletcher horse that was coming in with big bona fides. So there's a couple of prices in here that are fun to tinker with, and then you got to make a decision about Speakeasy and Victory Avenue on top of everything else. It's a lot of fun. If it's not going to be Locked, then it becomes an absolute madcap scramble.
I went with Locked as well. I just think he's going to be well met. It's always a little bit of a concern when a horse misses a little bit of time, but
it missed literally. It was literally a blip,
and that's why I kept with him. It's always a concern, but I do think in this instance it wasn't enough to shy me totally away. So I went with that one on top. Dornoch underneath, who I think is absolutely legitimate, but again, is today the day for him? And even Danny Gargan seems to be saying now we're pointing a little more down the road. So I think he'll run well, but I think they'll be happy with a good performance. Speakeasy, I put in a 3rd spot, and it's that they elected to go today says something. But boy, a triple-digit buyer in debut, can you put 2 together like that? It's always tough, but I didn't want to leave them off. And then you mentioned Real Macho. I thought this will come up on the next show. Tape some interviews with Rohan Creighton and with Tyler Gaffleone, and they were both kind of high on that last performance. And visually, you'll see the replay. Visually, you look at it. The 8th hole, you think no shot, and comes and came into a pretty good pace, admittedly. But I thought it was a good enough performance to take the shot today and to have that one in the mix. So for me, it's Locked, Dornoch, Speakeasy, and Real Macho.
Well, I actually sided more with Victory Avenue when it came to the two. When it came to the two coming out of the same race, I'll flip flop the two of them, and I'm against Dornoch. If I had to pick one of the more accomplished and resumed horses in this case coming out of the Remsen, which obviously this is not. I won't say your father's Remsen, but not even the Remsen that used to be maligned. As recently as 3-4 years ago, this Remsen has been so productive. Of course, Sierra Leone and drumroll please, who's sidelined right now, but I came back and was a stake winner. So I respect Dornoch. I sure get the feeling that you want to talk about missing some time and kind of a sluggish lead in to the season. That I get that sense from Gargan. If I'm against anybody, I won't be surprised if he wins. But if I'm against anybody, it happens to be Dornoch, and a little bit against Speakeasy. So I ended up 8, 7, 3, and 4.
And again, 14 race card. This will go off at about 10 after 6. That's the schedule. Post time for the first race today is 11:15. As we said, a number of pick 4s during the day, 3 pick 5s during the day. Should be a lot of fun. There's a mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six tomorrow, so keep that in mind as well for the weekend. Anything else before we wrap up?
Aqueduct, of course, you've got the All Stakes late pick 4. You've got a carryover at the Big A as well. If you want to just play the pick 5, it starts with an allowance and then leads into the 4 stakes. The Gotham should be absolutely fascinating. I understand that they've moved up post times slightly. The published post time for the Gotham was 5:36. I believe it's going to go off now at 5:21. So about a 15-minute push up, which would then make it, it'll go off between the 12th and 13th here. So keep a thought on that. Just a touch, by the way, 5-2. And I know it's raining in New York, so he's going to get a wet track again. Even if it had been dry, he's a serious horse, just a touch. For me, 10 and 13 in there. Capital Idea of Clement, 12-1, the open air outside box where the air is fresh and clear. And Trevor McCarthy will get to survey things. So a strong 10-13 play for me in the Gotham. And if you want to play a try, 10-13-2.
And I was pulling mine up, but I can't pull my Gotham up quickly. So I'll just wrap it up here. Steve, appreciate it. And again, if you didn't get a chance to write down the picks, both of our picks are on the one sheet today at capitoltv.com.
Ooh, I'm on the one sheet?
You made the one sheet. So
I've arrived.
Click on the handicapping link at the top of the page, and then you get the one sheet, nice printable sheet with the selections throughout the day.
SteveByk.com, too, for all the plays are laid out there. And I'll make any adjustments. They should have a fairly early scratch, I would imagine, soon enough. Best of luck, everybody. Safe trips for all, and thanks for having me. I guess you will see me next in June, right?
Yeah. And you listen to you on the radio all the time as well, and we were talking. You got Tampa Bay next week. You're going out to Vegas. You'll be out in California.
OBS.
You have OBS. You have a big
New Orleans,
swing.
Louisiana.
So
Derby.
we'll check in with you some Sunday mornings too, because we want
boots on the ground. Boots on the ground, Bootsy.
All right,
that's your new nickname, Bootsy.
I may have to check.
Nix that, yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Handicappers Report, loose on the lead edition, live from Gulfstream Park. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to take a little break, then we're going to fire up Racing Across America for Fountain of Youth Day. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for tuning in. Back in a few.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Thrill Off Track Betting.